Monday Night Football. The Washington Commanders travel to Philadelphia to take on the undefeated 8-0 Philadelphia Eagles. Today, I got my favorite player prop, game pick, and same game parlay coming your guys' way. What's going on? My name's Austin from Calling or Shot. We do these videos for every single primetime game, as well as we do those NBA daily best bets videos. If you are new, go down below, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button too. I would appreciate it. I'll recap all of our Sunday and Monday, and I guess last Thursday's plays coming up next week, so definitely stay tuned for that. Without further ado, I'm just going to hop right into my favorite player prop. If you ever need any Sportsbook sign-up bonuses, whether it's for PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy, FanDuel, BetMGM, they're all down below in the description. Go check those out. Start with my player prop. Antonio Gibson of the Commanders taking his over 23.5 receiving yards, minus 115 on DraftKings. Now, at the moment, while I record this late on Sunday night, you look at the line, 21.5 is the line on FanDuel. You can take that. It's minus 130 if you want. It might have changed by the time you're watching this, but I'd play Gibson probably up to 23.5, 24.5, maybe 25.5. Now let's talk about why we like Gibson. Obviously one of the running backs for the Commanders, and he's going to be thrust into a big role today. And I actually don't mind his rushing plus receiving yards line, but you look at who's out for the Commanders. J.D. McKissic, their pass-catching running back, the guy when they're in the 2-minute drill, J.D. McKissic comes in and he can get 6-7 receptions in a game. He's out. He was out last week, and we saw, Gibson only had 11 receiving yards. That was against the Vikings, which had a much worse secondary, whereas you look at the Eagles, a very good secondary. You're going to look at Taylor Heineke. He's going to need to dump it off to some guys. It's probably going to be the tight ends and the running backs that are going to be the large facilitators of that very good Eagles secondary. And you look at Brian Robinson, the other running back in this backfield. Not really known as being a pass-catching back. In fact, only 4 receptions for 7 yards on the season. I think last week he had 2 receptions for like -3 yards. Whereas you look at Gibson, he was a wide receiver in college. They ran him at Memphis, let him do some running, let him do a bunch of reception. That's what he was good at. And then in the pros, he's kind of been a pretty good pass catcher, and he's been pretty decent this year. And you look at his receptions line, sitting at 3.5. Now, 3.5 is a pretty high line for a running back, unless you're Austin Eckler or someone out there. But the over is only plus 120, plus 105. It's even minus 102 value on some books. So they clearly expect Gibson to at least see 2, 3, maybe 4 receptions tonight on Monday night. And I think he certainly would be capable of getting this over 24 yards. Now, look at Gibson over the last 5 weeks when he started. His role has been questioned. You saw Brian Robinson come back from, his injury when he was shot, and then he returned and kind of was thrust in a bigger role, and then it kind of eased it back a little bit. But over the last 5 weeks, seeing Gibson 33, 18, 18, 58, and 11 receiving yards. So he's hit this over in 2 of the last 5 games, had 18, so getting pretty close to a lot of those. And he's had a lot of 3 reception games. So can he get over the hump, get 4, maybe 5 receptions? I think he's certainly capable. And game script could be on our side. The Eagles, obviously, they're 8-0. They're 10, 11-point favorites on Monday Night Football. Would it surprise anyone if we see the Eagles leading by a lot of points? Not really, and that we could see the Commanders throwing it a little bit more, and they're not going to have Brian Robinson in there a lot on those downs where you're throwing the football, because he doesn't do a lot he doesn't do a lot of pass catching. I mean, let's be honest, he's not known as that. And look, last time these two teams played, Commanders lost by 16. It was 24-8. J.D. McKissic was active in that game, so you only saw Gibson have 1 catch for I think 2 yards, but J.D. McKissic, 32 receiving yards by himself. J.D. McKissic hit this in 2 straight versus them. And if you go back to last year in their most recent matchup, the last matchup of last season, you saw Antonio Gibson hit this over, I think, with 38 receiving yards. Look, if you look at McKissic and you look at other running backs against this Eagles defense, 7 running backs have 3 or more receptions against them. 5 of them hit this over. 1 of them ended with like 19 yards. I think he's certainly capable of getting it done. I think people might look at last week when he filled in for McKissic, and he saw only 11 receptions or 11 receiving yards. That was an easier matchup against Minnesota, who obviously doesn't have the greatest secondary in the world. Strength of this Philadelphia Eagles defense is their secondary. I think Gibson has a pretty good night receiving and probably rushing too, but I like his receiving yards over 23.5. We're taking it. Now let's move on to my game pick. I don't really love either of the spreads here. I don't love laying a lot of points, and sometimes you can get backdoored there, but I also don't really want to trust the Commanders too much. So I'm going to go with the over actually in this one. 43.5 is the line to get, and it's minus 110 on FanDuel. It gets minus 110 across the books. Now, people like to go back to previous matchups and see, all right, well, it was 24-8. I'm just going to hammer the Eagles. I'm just going to go hammer the under. I don't think games you can just expect the exact same thing to happen every single time. And I think these two offenses are capable of putting up points. Now, we know the Eagles offense has been great this year, and they can put up points as good as almost any team in the league. But you look at last time these two teams matched up, the Eagles scored 0. It's 0 points in the first, third, and fourth quarter. They scored all 24 of their points in the second quarter, so hopefully they disperse them a little bit more, but even if they give us a 24-point quarter, I'd feel pretty good about this. And then they look at the Commanders, only 8 points. They had Carson Wentz starting. He was sacked 9 times. You know how to not score a lot of points and have no offense? is getting sacked and being behind the downs too often. And I don't see them doing that on this game. I think Taylor Heineke's a little bit more agile, a little bit better at getting away from those pass rushers. Obviously, he's a pretty athletic guy. He's not afraid of putting his body on the line. He's going to go for those rushing downs. He's going to try to extend plays. And that's what you want to see when you're trying to take an over. You need guys that can extend plays and get those deep plays, because that's how you hit overs, with long chunk plays. And the two teams, when they played last, they combined for 11 for 32 on third down, like 33, a little above 33%. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles are like 4th or 5th in terms of third down conversion percentage at like 45%. Now, the Commanders are lower down there at like 35, 36, but both these two teams combined to be well below that. And I think a 27-17 final score, not outside of the realm of possibility. That would be 44 points to be exact. The over, 3-1 in Eagles home games this year. And also the Eagles are a team capable of scoring 30. They're capable to score 35, 40 points. Just the offense is a very good. Eagles overs 8-1 in the last 9 Eagle home games. On the other side, under is 4-1 in Washington's last 5 road games. So something has to give here. I think we see a bigger offensive showing. It's Monday Night Football. You know the NFL, if they can put a little bit of fix in, they want some points in this game. They don't want a barn burner like we've been seeing sometimes throughout early on in the season. I think we're going to see a lot of points in this one, at least 44. That's not a super high line. Both these two offenses are capable of scoring 20 points each, and that would probably get us close to hitting this over. So, look, I'll take the over 43.5. I don't really want to bet a spread in this one, although I would lean the Eagles minus the 11 points. But give me the over 43.5. Now let's move on to same game parlay. I like this one. We're going 4 legs, a little bit conservative than one little leg out there that might give us some good value at plus 333. Jalen Hurts, 200 plus passing yards. A.J. Brown, 50 plus receiving yards. Devontae Smith, 40 plus receiving yards. And A.J. Brown, anytime touchdown. Now, you could involve some Commanders in here, but I don't really trust a lot of their roles. And like I said, the Eagles secondary is decent. So could McLaurin get clamped up and we see other guys like Curtis Samuel have big days? Certainly. So I'd rather just trust the Eagles to get it done. And while it is hard for history to repeat itself, the last time these two teams played, this exact same parlay did hit. We saw Jalen Hurts, 340 passing yards. His teammates, A.J. Brown had 85 receiving yards. Devontae Smith, a big day, 169 receiving yards. And A.J. Brown had a touchdown, so did Devontae Smith. You could add more legs to this. I think Dallas Goedert has a decent game here. But look, Brown, he's had a touchdown in 3 straight games. 6 touchdowns on the year. He's obviously a guy that can take a chunk, a 1-yard catch and just turn it into a 75-yard touchdown. He's capable of that. He's their biggest receiver out there. He's easily can get it done. And the Washington Commanders secondary has not been good this year. They've been giving up a lot of receptions, a lot of receiving yards to wide receivers. So I think both these two guys are capable. I mean, A.J. Brown is able to hit this over in his sleep some days. I mean, he's hit this 50-plus receiving yards in 7 of 8 games. His line is much higher than 50-plus. Smith hasn't been as consistent as you would love him to be, but you saw him have 169 receiving yards already versus Commanders team. Can he do it again? I think so. So we're going to sprinkle on this plus 333. I think it has a chance. It's same game parlay. Hopefully this one gives us a fighting chance. A.J. Brown's obviously the toughest leg, and obviously if Jalen Hurts is throwing for over 200 passing yards, you'd imagine his 2 of his top 3 receivers are at least having a pretty decent day. So that's all we're asking for, plus 333 odds. My only player prop will be Antonio Gibson's over in receiving yards, and we're taking the over 43.5 points. We root for points, root for the same game parlay. So have a great night. Have a great Monday Night Football. I'll recap all of our picks on next Wednesday's video. Appreciate you guys as always. See you in the future videos in the NBA. I'll see you there, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.